And good afternoon, everyone. Namaste and welcome to Hindu Lounge. This is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu Pact. Hindu Pact is Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective. We are an initiative of World Hindu Council of America or VHPA. I'm Ajay Shah. I'm the president of VHPA. And with me, as always, is Sudha Jagannathan. Sudha, welcome.
Thank you.
I know that you've been traveling, you're busy. So thank you for taking time. I've been busy last week too. So we didn't do a show last week, but here we are this week and we have an exciting show. So welcome to the program. And so that we are going to talk about an issue that is really front and center this year, and that's about immigration. And we are not going to talk about illegal immigration. We know that the illegal immigration is rampant, and all the southern borders, have been basically in a state of turmoil. At the same time, the people are being shipped from the southern borders to all the northeastern states and midwestern states. But today, what we are going to talk about is the legal immigration, and we're going to talk about the legal immigration because legal immigration is the one that ends up impacting a lot of Hindus. And so that is what we are going to talk about. And first, I would like to give you an opportunity to welcome everyone and just any introductory remarks before we dive into the topic.
Thank you, Ajay. Namaste to everybody. And as Ajay said, this is an important topic, not really discussed a lot in the media or even in our own communities. I just want to point out it was a little bit shocking at a recent event in the Bay Area when some of our very prominent Indian Americans uh, did not understand the extent of this legal immigration limbo that our tech workers and other professionals are stuck in. And that was a little bit shocking because in my mind it's like everybody knows there is a problem, but it is not true. So that's why it's important to talk about this and understand the real problem. And also we have complete respect and we understand and we feel compassion to the people crossing the borders for varieties of reasons. Okay, we understand that that is a problem that needs to be solved, but at the
Correct.
same time, more importantly, we also need to solve the problem of legal immigrants in a limbo.
And we talked about, right, a couple of weeks ago when we did our show, and we analyzed one of these surveys. We said that Indian Americans, when we did the API survey analysis, we said the among the legal immigrants in America, the Indian Americans and the the Indian Americans are one of the largest groups. And I'm going to share some numbers with you that will be somewhat eye opening. The numbers are staggering. Right now, the US green card backlog is over 1.2 million, I think, is the backlog of the people who are waiting for legal immigration. I saw some numbers that every year US makes available about 140,000 employment based green cards, but any individual country cannot have more than 7%. So there is a cap. There's not just cap on number of legal immigrant visas that are given out, but there is also within that visa category, within the employment based visas, there is a cap of 7% per country. So only 140,000 out of which 7% per country. Now there's a Cato Institute, which is a well-known DC-based tank. It said in August that the backlog of employment-based green card applications has reached 1.8 million, and about 1.1 between 1.1 and 1.2 million are for people from India. That's a backlog. And so if you're a new applicant from India who comes to US and who's on H-1B employment visa, and then really at some point goes and applies for a green card, they're likely to die before they get the green card. That is how long the wait is. The wait is long enough.
134 years is what they're estimating.
Yeah, this
134
is what
years.
Cato Institute said, that people will die before they get the visa because the actual wait is over 100 years, right? So I have some numbers which I can get to, but I just want to give a couple of other statistics. Um, I mean, as such, US has been very generous with immigration, right? The 46.2 million immigrants right now live in the United States. Those are the numbers from 2022, and this is the most in US history. But actually, if you look at the number, in even in 1890s, the number of immigrant population in America was about 13.7% of the population. So while the absolute numbers are high, if you really look at the percentage, right now it is 14.8%. So the change in percentage is not that high. The foreign born population in between 2021 and 2022 in America grew by 912,000, or about 2% of the total population growth. It is largest annual growth and has increased of more than 1 million between 2013 and 14. So it kind of just matches the highest previous high. And I think just a couple of other things to just kind of set the stage for this conversation. Um, if you look at how many US residents are from immigrant families, the immigrants and their US born children number approximately 90.8 million people, or 27% of the total civilian population, who are not non institutionalized US population, is what they call it. This is an increase of approximately 14.7 million, or 20% from 2010. So the just the U.S. Residents who are from the immigrant families from are in 90.8 million is the total number. And if you ask the question, what are the most common countries of origin for the new permanent immigrants, the top countries by birth uh, are Mexico 14%, India 12%, mainland China 7%, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Philippines 4% each, El Salvador is 3%, and Vietnam, Brazil, and Colombia 2% each. So India is second with 14%, with 12%, just behind Mexico. And the last number I would say is that total number of people of Indian diaspora as of 2022, as per the report that I have seen from the Migration Policy Institute, I think is what it's called, is 5.19 million who are people of Indian origin, out of which uh, people who are born in their country of origin, but if they are from India, or if they are from UK, or they may be from Africa, but they're all of Indian ethnicity, that number is 2.831 million. And interestingly enough, I also dug out some statistics that you find interesting. Among the people, languages spoken, the foreign language spoken, the number one foreign language spoken obviously is Spanish, followed by Chinese, Tagalog, Vietnamese, Arabic, French, Korean, Portuguese, Russian, Haitian, Creole, and then it is Hindi. So Hindi makes a list above German. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 11th on the list. And then two down is Urdu, and three down from there is Telugu, and then two down from there is Gujarati, and about three down from there is Bengali. So several Indian languages have made the top 20 list. Uh, and one final thing, yeah, I think just so to reiterate, uh, 27% of immigration visas that are given out are employment based. That's people who are converting from H1B.
Yeah.
Uh, so that is uh, and among the new immigrants, India is number two after Mexico. People who become naturalized citizen after being immigrant. So 14% of the people who become naturalized citizen are Mexicans, 13%, and 7% are Indians. Only 66,000 every year. I think the most difficult thing to kind of understand is among the 7% that I mentioned are people who have people who come through the employment based visa per country.
Mhm.
That includes family members also,
Yeah.
and that means the number of people who are actually getting qualified, number of families getting qualified, is not just 7% of 140,000, but also if you have a family of three or four, it
Comes
takes
to.
away from the same number. So very small number of people actually end up getting green card every single year. So
Yeah.
I mouthful. I turn it over to you.
Those were amazing statistics, very important. But also, I wanted to point out this whole country is made up of immigrants, okay, from day one. So when we start to look at, say, the 90 million, I think it needs some a caveat there. But the distributions you mentioned after Mexico, India, definitely. So if you look at the American continent, right? The two countries that dominate the immigration uh, discussion are India and China, right?
Yeah,
Not part of this entire continent, South and North America. So the reason they are immigrants to this country is because they come to study, they come to work, so they bring certain skills. And I think there needs to be a consideration for the fact that they really meet a demand, specific demand, maybe not fulfilled through internal, right? Yeah, organic internal consumption. So I think it's important to discuss that, as part of the overall immigration, but in a little bit of a separate category, needs based. And that's what is not really happening. And what you pointed out, that count by nation and the immigrants visas given, uh, it also includes the families. And you have a chart, I think, that shows more
yeah,
than half of the immigrants who get that green card are the families.
yeah.
Obviously families are important, right? Families are important, but somehow this immigration system is all backwards, and it doesn't reflect 2024 or the needs of the 21st century. And I think that's a problem. They need to really look at it and understand how to resolve this 100 plus year back of wait time. Who's going to wait that long? Nobody. I
Well,
want to
they
point
cannot, even if they want to. I mean, the wait is over 100 years. So, yeah.
yeah. And you also have an example of someone who came with his mom, and
Yeah,
then mom covers his.
that's a very interesting example.
You want
So
to share
yeah,
that?
in fact, I should have put up a video because he has a really nice, the person has a really nice video. But this is a person whose name is Roshan Tarol. And his story, I'm reading now. So, for it, this is the article that came in Forbes. It is something that was in other newspapers and on Twitter. It was quite viral. So this person, it just shows the impact that the employment-based green card, the problem that it presents, especially for the children of the immigrants. So these are the people. Just imagine these are the kids who have come legally. We're not talking about dreamers because that's another category, and we will not comment on that today. But this is the dreamers. Generally, people hear about. This is a category of kids who came with their parents, who came here to America illegally, and they went to schools in America, they went to colleges, and then they're still, because they're not, their parents are not legal, they are not legally here, they're residents but they're not legal residents, right? So that is one category. The other category that is much less talked about is the kids who come to America with their parents, who have come here legally on a green card, or on, not sorry, on a H-1B visa, which is an employment based visa. So these are the kids who come to America. So this is the story of Roshan Tarol. So Roshan was born in India, and he came to America with his mom, uh, and in 2008. And his mom worked in H-1B in US for a technology company, like a lot of other Indians do. And um, his US based company sponsored his mom. 8 years later, in 2018, Roshan's mom died before she was granted a green card. Now, when Roshan turned 21, he went to college in America and all that. But when he turned 21, he was out of status. So this happens to a whole bunch of kids who are here with who are here with parents who are here legally on employment based visa. They go to schools, they go to colleges, and they're 21, so probably somewhere towards their senior year, junior or senior year, they all of a sudden they're out of status, and now there are very few options available. The only thing they can do is either themselves get on the H-1B visa, which is somewhat difficult because how can you get on H-1B visa when you're still a student and are not going to get a job? So the other option they have is get onto F1 visa, which is a student visa. So now you go from this dependent visa, which is of an employee, which is a H4 visa, to an H1 visa, and you and then you know if you get a job right away, you're good. Otherwise, you have to go back to India, and you don't know anyone there. You may not have family there because everyone has come here, and you're now, but you have no other option. So you may
Exactly.
think that this is a small problem. There are 90,000 kids who will age out in the eligibility in this process. So it's not a small number. It's a rather large number if you think about it.
And that's another compassionate situation, right? We talk about the dreamers, we talk about the people crossing the border, with like undocumented migrants. Then we have this legal immigrant children dependent on their parents and the visa limbo, who age out and they are like in a stateless
Yeah.
state, really. Of
We are,
course, they are
yeah.
Indian citizens, but really they have grown up here. They have gone to school here, went to college. Everything that about them is being an American, but they are denied the right to be an American. I think this is where I think the Indian community ourselves, we need to get involved, get understand, and start to lobby our own elected officials to pay attention to these situations and these this particular problem, which has a direct impact on American economy. And I know you have a slide on that too, about how this impacts American economy, right?
Yeah,
um,
that's a really interesting one because here is the one that you're talking about. So let me go to that slide, and that is, we have a lot of slides. We don't show all the slides because this is the, for people who are watching us, this is the kind of preparation that we end up doing, so that we can actually present you all with numbers that we have. Um, just to go to this slide that Sudha was referring to, it is this one. So this is the study from University of Pennsylvania right here in Philadelphia, and if you look at the bottom of the slide, it may be a little too small to read, but the finding says that so basically the key points in this. So they did a study. It came out on January 18th, 2024, and it talks about the budgetary effects of granting green cards to immigrants with advanced STEM degree. So the STEM is this science, technology, engineering kind of degrees. And the summary of this is that the survey estimates that, and they've done modeling. So this modeling, calculations estimate that exempting from immigrants with advanced STEM degree from numerical limitations on green cards would reduce the deficit by $129 billion over a 10-year period from 2025 to 2034, and by 634 billion over 2035 to 2044. So a huge impact in terms of a huge impact in terms of US budget deficit reduction. So if I read the key points here, uh, they say that it's not going to end up impacting the population growth or demographic change in America as much, while it is going to reduce the deficit, U.S. budget deficit. So it says that their survey and or their modeling um, estimates that the enacting these changes would increase the U.S. population by about 825,000 in 2034. So we're talking about adding roughly 80,000, uh, 85,000 people a year, about 82,000, right, per year for
yeah.
the next 10 years, about 82,000, and more than 2.5 million until 2044. So we're not talking about adding a massive number of people to US, and we are adding people who are going to positively contribute to the uh, to the American economy. And look at all the companies that are started by all the immigrants in in US, right? It's not just the technology company, but all kinds of companies that the entrepreneurship and STEM leadership that America has, and technology companies and pharmaceutical companies and all kinds of other industries. And it also says the increase in population would lead to higher outlays because this population goes up, but we are adding people who are going to pay substantial amount of taxes because these are the people who are going to have um, high paying jobs, right?
Yeah.
So just the increase in the population would lead to higher outlays for federal benefits and higher tax receipts over the 25 30 to 34 period, 2000 to 25 2034 period. The estimates are that the direct spending would increase by 4 billion and revenue increase by 133 billion, and correspondingly between 2035 to 2044, the direct spending would increase by 74 billion and the revenue would increase by 708 billion. So you can see the amount of
Numbers. Ajay, is your audio? Can you hear me? And I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. No.
just a second. How about now?
Yeah, you're kind of faint, but now I can hear you.
How about now? Uh,
Faint,
I,
faint.
why don't you speak and I'll figure out something.
Okay, speak up a little bit more.
How about now?
Yeah, it's okay, but not as before. Something happened.
Why don't you
Yeah,
give your
now you're
comments?
good.
Oh, I got.
Now you're
Okay.
good.
All right. Don't
Yes,
know what
yeah,
the temporary
yeah.
glitch was, but we are all good.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just wanted to say the impact has always been very positive with immigrants, okay, in this country. And we're not talking about tech workers, like you said, talking about small businesses. We're talking about entrepreneurs. I have friends who have small business in small towns.
Yeah.
And this is true of immigrants in many parts of the US. And they do bring vitality and diversity to the country, and it doesn't take away anybody's jobs. Please, I want Americans to know nobody is taking away anyone's jobs. These are jobs that are not filled today by internal population and talent. So we do need it so that America stands at the forefront of economic growth and prosperity for all. So this is absolutely needed, and we do need to address it. I just want to point out something too. I have a lot of family members and friends in academia. What they're telling me is that Indian students who are coming here get a master's degree and are not signing up to do PhD. And this is a case in Europe too. I found out from people in Europe too. The pipeline of Indian students going into PhD now is less than before, because after masters they say, I'm going to go back to India and do my startup. Right? So the ecosystem is changing. We need to understand that it is not just Silicon Valley and Raleigh or some other parts that have this technology hubs and all that. It's now across the globe. And if
Yeah. I think we your video got frozen, Sudha. I don't know if you're.
who are but
Yeah.
cannot work and their children, we are going
Yeah.
to be at the losing end of a global race to number one in
Yeah.
many things.
And then look, I mean, I know, at the rate at which, I mean, the world is developing and is becoming competitive, America needs to remain competitive. And, the threats globally in terms of economic challenges and security challenges and all of that, and especially immigrants who are coming from India, India being such a strong democratic ally, and people in India, and I've been working on this, a separate slide deck which we can talk about at some point. But democracy is such an ancient tradition in India. We had Mahajanapradas, which about 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 years ago. So we have been practicing democracy for the longest time. We pioneered the concept of democracy even before some of the countries in Europe did. And we actually had voting and all of that. So we are, what America is getting with the Indians and the Hindus, especially coming to America, is people who have strong belief in democratic institutions, in democratic society, and in many ways, Hindus are a really good fit for American society. And to filter them out based on some artificial criteria such as 7% cap on employment based green card and all that, it just doesn't make sense for America. I'm not even talking from the perspective of people who are not getting permanent residency. I mean, they know what the rules are, they know what the laws are, and they know that there's a wait of 100 years, and they can go back, and they come here with that understanding. And their kids, as much as we think that is unfair and cruel and all of that, that at 21 they age out, even that, you could probably, somebody can make an argument that, look, I mean, the parents knew that this is the case. They took a chance, hoping that they'll get it sooner or the laws will change. It didn't happen. The consequences were known.
Yeah.
But who is the real, who is going to take the brunt of the negative impact? I think it's America,
It's
because
America.
it's America.
Okay. No, you're perfectly right. It's America that will pay a price by not revamping their immigration system to match the needs of the future. Actually, needs that we have currently and the needs of the future. And what is it that we want to be? America as a country, right? We want to stay democratic. So we want people from countries, like you said, who appreciate and live and breathe the values of democracy, hard work, meritocracy, everything that celebrates American individual, spirit. So when we deny them that opportunity, then it's a self-defeating practice. We cannot
It
afford
is.
to.
And I mean, I want to give credit where it's due. I know that there was a Eagle Act that was, that was proposed, I think, by Representative Ro Khanna from California, and what
Actually,
he
Lofgren also, Senator Lofgren's
and
bill,
Senator
and
Lofgren and several others had signed on. It
yes,
was an
yeah.
add-on to one of the other bills, and it actually was eventually taken out. And what that would have done is that it would have, done some overhaul of this immigration system. It would have eliminated the per country limit on the employment based green cards and increased the limit on family sponsored green card from 7% to 15%. So I think the biggest advantage that we would have seen for the Indian immigrants is the removal of this country-based cap that they have on the green card, because I think nothing impacts more than that cap to all the people, because that number, that artificial capping, is just I don't know, it has roots, and I don't want to go into the history of it, but it has um, you know roots in long time ago, when the immigration last time the immigration laws were revamped and all of that. um, I think you, so there are some suggestions that Cato Institute has given, and I don't want to go over all of them, but one of them is that they have said that you know if people who are from one of them, of course, everyone has said, let's just remove this country based caps. That is one thing. Then the other one is that adjustment of status, you can is something that you can remove from the cap. So what they're saying is that if someone is and they have two related suggestions. One of them is that if someone is here for 5 years and they're already in a job, then and already on the employment based visa, which is the H1B visa, then when they go and they apply for citizenship, they don't have to wait in this long line of 100 years. So give them green card right away. I think that's a reasonable suggestion. Somebody can argue or should not argue.
You kind of went quiet again. Yeah. No, I agree. Those are great suggestions.
Yeah,
Also, yeah, I just want to bring up
yeah, please.
the 2024 presidential candidate, Mr. Trump, has offered something really something to think about.
Yeah,
He said that Indians, we students, we don't want them to go to school here and go back to India to become billionaires. He wants them to stay here, get a green card, and start companies and contribute to the American economy and become billionaires in America. Hey, it's a good idea. I'm not sure if it will pass. I mean, if it will pan out, whether or not Mr. Trump becomes a president. But the idea is that people are paying attention. Who do we need in this country? What is it that the country needs? And how do we match that particular demand? So I think a complete revamp is necessary. I just want to put a plug in for
no,
why the immigration system needs to be revamped completely.
that's such an important one. I know look, I mean, people can debate the nuances of this, right? And Cato Institute, this study that I was talking about, they said that okay, at least can we give the workers who have so their specific suggestion is workers should be exempted from EB green card cap if they have higher level of education like graduate degree or a PhD. Workers should be exempted from a cap if they have graduate degree or PhD in particular fields such as science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or medicine. And the House version of the America Competes Act did this in 2022. So, okay, if someone comes and says that okay, we don't want to do it at the bachelor's degree because that's a degree that a lot of people get, and it becomes very competitive for people who are already in US and these undergraduates who are competing for entry level jobs. Fine, I understand that, but can we do that for graduate level jobs? For people who have PhDs, people who have master's degree in specific fields where America needs more, more qualified people. So I think we're not saying that okay, everyone who studies, you know, for lack of uh, studies social sciences and works at UCSD and tries to keep other Hindus out of we're not saying get those people. We're not saying that you get people from the people who are working at Harvard who want to change, who want to implement the kind of laws
Affirmative action. Who want to bring affirmative action to America?
well, who wants to, someone who goes out and advocates that Hindus be divided and their history be rewritten, and we don't want those people. So, can we selectively exclude those people out and get people who are actually going to help America and not hurt America?
Exactly. What about those science talent winners, the spelling bee winners? I haven't really seen anything about how many of them are, children of H1B. I don't know.
I'm
I have
sure
no
there's
idea.
sufficient number. I used to know people who won the spelling bee. At least I know one person who won spelling bee, who was whose parents started out as immigrant. I don't know by the time that person got the spelling bee championship, the parents were had permanent residency or still on H1. I don't know that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, start taking a look at. We have enough technology to start looking at how to reform immigration
Yeah.
laws without getting political about it. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to
No.
do with the country's future.
Correct.
So, yeah, and also I want to point out these people, legal immigrants on H1B and other kinds of visas, even L1. L1 is from a company that has a branch in India, brings them over here for a few years. Also, these companies have to go through all sorts of maneuvering to meet the needs in America. They pay taxes.
Yeah.
In fact, America is taxing them and charging them for being not giving them a green card. That
Yeah.
is unfair. That is an unfair tax on these immigrants, legal immigrants who pay taxes to the country, and no green card, no path to residency. It's not, we're not saying everybody deserves to be an immigrant, but these are qualified people invited by America to come here and work.
Yeah.
And how come we treat them so badly? I think that needs to be fixed.
I agree with you. There's some of the other suggestions from Cato Institute are like one of them is workers who have wage offers in the top 10% of wages in their occupation or in the top 5% of wages nationally should be exempted from the cap. These workers are extremely productive, and there's no sense in making them wait longer. These seem like common sense suggestions. And
Mhm.
one of them is immigrants who adjust their status in EB1 or EB2 categories should be exempted from the numerical cap. These are the categories for exceptionally qualified people. So there's no reason for making exceptionally qualified person wait 100 years and beyond their lifespan for them to get permanent residency. There are others. I mean, the workers should be exempted if they show 5 or more years of legal employment. Workers should be exempted from the cap if they've waited for 5 years, otherwise eligible. Legally resided in the United States for a decade or more should be exempted. Um, Workers should be exempted based on occupation they intend to enter, uh, because there are a lot of the areas where you cannot find enough qualified people. Right, and nursing is probably one of them. Elderly care is the other one. These are hard to fill positions. So there's all kinds of suggestions that they have given, which I think are really good. And people who really have interest in solving this problem should sit down and talk about it.
I agree. Like I said, it's not a political problem.
It is not a
It's
political problem. I don't know why.
it's an American.
Nobody should make this into a political problem.
Yeah, it's about America's future and what kind of a country we want to be. Do we still want to be number one in the world?
Yeah,
The superpower has different meanings. It is not just being superpower in terms of our weapons and capabilities. Where do those weapons and capabilities come
yeah,
from? Really, from the brains of people behind it. And it's not about weapons itself. The cell phones we use, the computers we use. Uh, Everything that is in our life today that we don't want to give up.
yeah.
It comes from these brain power that is what we need, and it needs to be really number one priority for any new president or government or policy makers.
Yeah, speaking of presidential, elections, you never take a partisan position because we are a non-profit. But I saw this. On one hand, we are talking about uh, people waiting 100 years to get permanent residency, but I saw a recent news item about a month ago where President Biden called Japan and India xenophobic and saying that they don't want immigrants. So he said that immigrants are what makes us strong and criticize countries, plus China and Russia over their migration policy. Now, India is a 1.4 billion people country, resource constraint. All that is fine, but India also has people who have come from Bangladesh illegally, millions of them. So same issues, kind of issues in the border. I don't think it helps when the president of America does not solve the problem at home of people waiting in long line beyond 100 years, and then going and preaching countries like India and and calling India xenophobic. I think yes, if he wants to make that statement, he's welcome to make the statement after gaining credibility of implementing the similar positions at home. So if you're on one hand you're making people wait over 100 years for employment-based visa, and then you're saying that well India is not doing it, right? Like let's I think I aspirationally I don't disagree, right?
Well, I have to say that is not correct actually. We do have undocumented in India. I have to say there is undocumented immigration migrants coming in from Myanmar and Bangladesh
Bangladesh.
for economic
Oh yeah, I
opportunities.
mean
But
Bangladesh.
we have India
Millions
is
of
the
people from
number one.
Bangladesh.
India
Millions.
is the number one sanctuary for people from Afghanistan, from Tibet, from Sri Lanka, from 2000 years ago when the Jews landed, from the Christians landed. It has always been people who were fleeing to India. Even Cleopatra was planning to have her son leave for India and escape the Romans after Caesar and Mark Antony died. I don't know if you know the story. I'm just saying. But Octavius, the Roman emperor, got to her son and killed him. So even those 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, India was a place where people went to for sanctuary. So for Mr. Biden to say that, President Biden to say that, it's pretty nasty, I would say, especially when United States keeps saying on one side of its mouth they want a stronger strategic relationship with India, but on the other side is kind of poking and scratching
And
the
look,
country.
if I remember, I don't know the latest numbers, but even as far back as early 80s and mid 80s, the number of people illegally from Bangladesh in a small state like Assam was in
Yes,
millions. And we
yes.
combine Assam and West Bengal, that number was even
Several
much
million.
higher.
Yes,
And,
so, and it is also encouraged, just like Mr. Biden's policy of, oh, let the undocumented migrants across the border marry U.S. citizens. Huh? Oh,
yeah, see see the problem is that again, if it comes to employment base, I'm sure that at some point, India will also open up, because I see there are, I was teaching this class last week, and I was giving examples of areas in which India always goes for foreign talent because India does not have that talent. And one of the examples that I gave was, if you look at the CEOs of airlines in India, you'll find a lot of foreigners be CEO of India, airlines which are based in India. Now, it is
wow.
also true that two of the largest airlines in America at one time had both got Indian CEOs,
Yeah,
of people who are of Indian origin. But traditionally, I mean, if you look at the airlines in India, you get a lot of foreign CEOs. That is a skill set. So there are not that many people around the world who are qualified to lead large airlines, and so that is a global marketplace. And similarly, I think there you'll increasingly see, as India develops, in industrially, and more infrastructure, more technology company, more startups. I know people who are born and brought up in America, not necessarily of Indian origin, who have gone to India and done a startup.
yes, yes.
So
They live a life in two on two continents and two
yes,
countries. They moved their families into India so the children can go to school in India,
yeah,
get a solid math science education, and they are citizens of US, and they may have OCI, overseas citizen of India. They start companies there. They are there. This is a global change, and America is
right.
not getting it. Okay,
And I think,
because
it,
yeah,
yeah,
because these Indians are going back not just for to start companies there and do they want to be with their families. We have a tradition of taking care of our elderly, so they go back to take care of their families, educate their children. They can get help. Here it's hard to get help. So to that is the future of America. It's going to be both sides. So we have to invest in talent that's already coming here, not lock them out and frustrate them so much that they give up and go away.
yeah,
Many people were going to Canada
yeah,
because the long lines here.
yeah,
But even Canada is unfriendly now to Indian Americans.
right.
So many people are going to Europe, especially the Scandinavian countries. They can get a green card and citizenship within 3 years or something. So the point is that we are starting to lose out and we are not paying attention to it. And if this continues, I think we'd be in pretty bad shape.
And then, to President Biden's point, I think there is going to be a time where people from all nationalities, ethnicities will start going to India for education. They're already going for education, and they'll start going for employment as well. I've already seen people of other nationalities starting companies in Bangalore. And I think more of this will happen. Uh, it's interesting we speak about this in a month when the Nalanda University just got inaugurated. And Nalanda was a center of learning where people from all over the world came to Nalanda, the first residential university in the world, with 12,000 students, 10,000 students, or 12,000 students, something like that. And people from all over the world came, they studied. And so India always has this tradition of welcoming people. So, President Biden's point, if that is not happening, I think I've already seen the beginnings of that.
Yeah,
There's nothing stopping anyone from coming to India, starting a business, getting an employment. Uh, you know, I've seen this. I've read a book of someone from a major pharmaceutical company, AstraZeneca, going to India in late 70s and early 80s, late 70s mostly and early 80s, starting AstraZeneca in Bangalore. So, and he has written a book about his experience of starting a branch of a major pharma in in India. So it's not that people, and he lived in India for a long time. So it's not like it's not happening. It's just the opportunities are less, and so it's not happened to the extent we see it happening in America.
Yeah, all the VCs that are in Silicon Valley are in India and more.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
they don't have to
I'm
be Indian. They don't have
uh,
to be of Indian origin.
yeah, a lot of Americans. I heard that was 1 million foreign citizens working in India.
Yeah,
Okay, they want to experience a different culture, civilization, but also the opportunity to make money. And I just want to let people know the next 30 40 years is the greatest opportunity to make money in India.
yeah,
So but I want to point out, let's not, we live in America, we are American citizens, we want that same opportunity here for the
correct.
smart brains. And for the things you mentioned, just about Nalanda, I want to say one more thing. The reason for Indian Americans' visa situation to be relieved is because of a tradition of learning and valuing education. Okay, that is why we are successful in this country, and that is something that America and American government should respect and value and celebrate. People who bring in a culture of education and knowledge. And so that is what we want to see our community put to work for the benefit of this country, and I hope the country listens to it and makes major changes and reforms.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. All right. So, Sudha, we conclude our immigration discussion. Let's do our three regularly scheduled items and see how it goes. So, here's the first one.